to the Ken Patterson Show, guys. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for being here. Please hit that like, follow, subscribe button for me, please, if you would. I'd greatly appreciate it. Thanks for joining me again. It's the Ken Patterson Show. I'm happy to be back with you guys, happy to be talking back with you guys. It's a wonderful, wonderful blessing to be able to do that. And be able to be here to do that. So anyway, today, guys, I want to talk about, children and the children missing in the U.S. And I just wondered if, any of you have ever wondered how many children go missing on a yearly basis in the United States, and even on a daily basis. That number is astounding when you think about it. The stat or the agency that reports missing children, do note that most of these children are found pretty quickly, and a lot of these reportings turn out to be false alarms and runaways and that kind of stuff. So anyway, tonight we're going to talk about that, and the reason we're going to talk about it is because I don't think enough people talk about it in the mainstream, and we don't protect our most innocent in this nation. We don't do well with our elderly. We don't do well with our children. We don't do well with our veterans. We tend to cast aside the most vulnerable in our society, and that's a problem. But I think, especially when it comes to the children, I think everybody should be talking about this. There shouldn't be a night that goes by or any of this crap that we see on television where they don't talk about this issue of missing children in the U.S. because, nobody seems to know what's happening with the kids. Nobody seems to know where they are. And quite frankly, nobody seems to be looking. And with everything that's going on in our political climate, with everything that we know now about how these politicians behave, how these so-called celebrities behave, we should definitely be asking ourselves that question: how in the hell, in a civilized, so-called civilized country, can these children just be missing and no one know where they are? No one has an idea. They just disappear off the face of the planet. Nobody knows where to start looking. Nobody ever sees them again. And I don't, there's no entity on the planet, I believe, and especially in the United States, that has the power to just make these children disappear without a trace. That's going to take a whole lot of power. That's going to take a whole lot of cooperation from different agencies, different bureaucracies. It's going to take a conspiracy, right? It would take a conspiracy for, this to be some kind of trafficking ring or organ harvesting ring or something like that, which may sound far-fetched, but unfortunately it's not. It's not far-fetched at all. So tonight, I asked myself, I wanted to know how many kids go missing every year in the U.S. And so I did a quick little Google, and I'm going to pull this other screen in so that you guys can see what I'm reading right now, what I'm going to be reading. So check this out. You can read along with me. It says here, hundreds of thousands of children go missing in the U.S. annually, with figures often cited around 460,000 reported cases per year, though some estimates range higher, with a significant portion being runaways, while fewer are stranger abductions. Most children are found, but disparities exist, with children of color disproportionately affected, and many runaway cases involve potential trafficking or exploitation, highlighting the crisis's complexity. So here are some key stats for this reporting. This is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and the FBI data often point to roughly 460,000 missing child reports annually, though some sources list higher figures around 800,000 plus. Most are found, it says here. The vast majority, around 99% of these children, are recovered, often quickly. So it goes on to say, types of cases are runaways. Runaways, a large percentage of missing children are runaways, but many are victims of online enticement or trafficking. And then you have the family custody disputes. Non-custodial parents taking children are a common factor. Stranger abductions, these are statistically rare, less than 1% of cases. Okay, and then here are the racial disparities that they're talking about. They say black children are reported missing at disproportionately high rates compared to their population size, yet receive less media attention, notes the Elon University analysis. Okay, here's the data variation for whatever that means. Numbers can differ due to reporting systems such as state versus federal and what's included, runaways versus abducted. So it says, in essence, while hundreds of thousands are reported missing, most cases are resolved quickly. The challenge lies in identifying and protecting the vulnerable subset, including trafficking victims and those facing exploitation, notes the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, OJJDP. So 460,000 children reported missing each year in this country. And I don't understand why there's not more outrage about what's happening with these children. And I don't understand why black children have to receive less attention about being abducted than their counterparts, right? I would hate to think that the media would be so dirty, but I know that the media is so dirty. But the question is how in the world are 460,000 children going missing? And they say that, the vast majority of these children are found right away. But there are so many who are not. And then they put the, runaways could be also, they don't know if, runaways are going to also include exploited or trafficked children. So it's just incredible that we don't give this a lot more attention. If we don't protect our children, we have no future. That's just plain common sense, right? Like, if the children are, really our future, as cliche as that may sound, it's the truth. The children are our future, and nobody seems to be pissed off enough, especially somebody who can do something about this. I'm sure that there are agencies out there who, work hard to try and find some of these children, and work hard to try and get some of these kids back home and to their parents. And you hate to think the worst about what's going on with these children, but we know that they can't be in any kind of good situation because, for one thing, they're not with their parents. They're not with their families. So we know that whatever situation they're in, that it's very stressful. especially if they had any memory of their family, of their parents, their mother and their father, their brothers, their sisters. Um, it's a sad thing, man. It's sad that we put so much energy into nonsense. We talk about and we worry about so much nonsense when this should be the number one priority of anybody with a major platform. Anybody with a major platform should give this some kind of time every single day until somebody gets serious about trying to find out what's going on with these children, who's taking these children, where are they? Because the powers that be don't seem to care. And they are criminally quiet, right? Um, so, somebody high up is pulling the strings. Somebody, there are all kinds of agencies involved. I've heard that CPS is huge in these cases where children just all of a sudden are so-called runaways, but have been exploited and trafficked and sold, and just all kinds of horror stories about CPS and how they handle these children. Even schools, churches have been implicated in some of this stuff. So, um, you know, I just wonder where the children are. What could be happening to these children, and how in the world are so many children gone, um, and no explanation, no trace. Um, it's inexplicable. Actually, I can't explain it, and I mean, I'd love for somebody who could explain it to me, but it's it's a bad thing, man, that we live in this, like I said, this so-called civilized nation, supposed to be, the best country in the world, but we're losing this many children every year. Um, uh, there are other stats and other reporting agencies that report a little bit differently from this, and they show the percentage of cases that have been gone, for how long these children have been missing, and this kind of thing. So when they say that most of these children are found quickly, um, I don't know how true that is. I'd have to, kind of look at the other research and look at the other reporting agencies as far as this stuff is concerned, and see what they say. But um, the fact that there are 460,000 reported cases on average is, that's astounding. That's sinful, America. It's absolutely sinful that we don't take better care of the children, the lifeline of our nation. We don't take better care of them. Um, it's sad. It's sad that this kind of thing is happening to children. The most innocent of our species are being used, abused, exploited, and God knows what. When these people are done with them and they just throw them out and discard them, we never see these children again, and nobody is saying anything about these missing babies. Um, and it's just, as a nation, man, we really should be embarrassed by this. We should be um, outraged at this thing. That nobody with any real clout, says anything about this. The people that I hear talking about this with the larger platforms, they are still, branded, as some kind of conspiracy theorist or crazy folk or whatever, because they tell the actual truth about what's going on with these children. And I remember when Joe Biden was president and they just had the borders wide open at one point at the Texas border. You know, at one point while I was doing my podcast at that time, there were over 85,000 children missing. 85,000 children missing at the border of Texas and Mexico. So, and you know, there still hasn't been any word about where those children are or what happened to them. I mean, it just kind of died down, but you know, people made a big deal out of it when Joe Biden was president, as if, you know, this was a knock on Joe Biden, but this has always happened. This is not something that that happens across the aisle or on the other side. This is something that both of these parties participate in. This is something that all of those politicians participate in. And this is what I believe is the reason that a lot of them are beholding to that little nation state over there in the Middle East, or you know, because a lot of these guys have been put in compromising situations with children, and they have been caught on tape, and not caught on tape, but taped while in the process. And this is who Jeffrey Epstein was. This is what his job was. He was a director of honeypots, and it was his job to collect this blackmailing info on these politicians and kings and queens and newscasters and actors and you name it, athletes, you name it. So we should really be asking, you know, where these children are and demanding that our government or our law enforcement or somebody do something about this crisis. This is a crisis. You know, if 480,000 people were dying a year, just missing, just going, I just don't even understand how you can compare this or make any kind of analogy, because it's just incredible that this is not talked about more, that this is not talked about every day on anybody with a show, anybody with a podcast, anybody with a platform should be saying something about this daily. You don't have to dedicate your whole platform to it. I'm not saying that, but every day somebody should give some acknowledgement to the fact that all of these children go missing every year and every day in this country. When we're supposed to be the best country in the world to live in. That's not true. That's not true. So anyway, man, you know, I didn't want to go too long tonight, but I just, you know, I did want to come on and say, you know, that this is, it's just, it's embarrassing that, you know, we don't protect the babies better. That's a stain. It's a blemish on America, our society. It's a blemish on our society that we don't take care of our children better, that we don't seem to care as much. We'd rather argue about, you know, we'd rather talk about Corey Holcomb and Anton Daniels and, you know, shit that really doesn't matter. We'd rather give that the energy than we would, you know, over giving these children the energy that they need and trying to get to the bottom of what the hell is happening. You know, it's kind of a foregone conclusion for, I'm pretty sure, a lot of these parents that they're never going to see their child, their kids again alive. You know, that's a sad place to be for a parent. And I'm pretty sure that, you know, a lot of these parents are living with that kind of despair. But nobody in power seems to give a shit, you know, and again, it's embarrassing and it's a travesty. It should be a crime, man. It really is a crime that we let this stuff go on and we don't say anything more. We don't do anything more. You have ICE going door to door for illegal immigrants, which I'm not against, right? I don't think that what ICE is doing as far as, taking people who came here to try to take advantage of our system, um, and sending them back to their country. This is not, the welfare state. I don't know when we became that and why we are that, but we don't need to be that. We have enough going on here at home, enough people right here within these borders legally, people who are here legally. We have so much going on, and so many people in need right here at home that it's ridiculous to try and say that it's logical to invite millions of other people here to become welfare recipients, on the tax dollar of people who have been here who can't get those same benefits. If you work here, if you have a job in the U.S., you can't get food stamps. You can't get benefits that people who don't have jobs and people who can't work and indigent people get. Which is crazy. And then you bring a whole bunch of 20 million illegal immigrants here and give them jobs or not jobs, but give them welfare. You give them credit cards and you give them food stamps and all the benefits that everyday working people aren't even entitled to because we work every day. So we don't get any help because we work every day. But then you let people come in here illegally and then you give them our benefits, the money that we work for, the tax dollars that we earn and pay into this system. You now then give those away to somebody who's here illegally. And so I don't agree with illegal immigration. I don't agree with coming here illegally and living off of taxpayers. I don't agree with that. So I don't totally disagree with what ICE is doing. I don't agree with the fact that they shot or pew or whatever the hell you have to say on here now, somebody in the face. I don't agree with that. That was unnecessary. In my opinion, that was totally unnecessary. Watching the video over and over from many different angles and slow motion and all that, I just felt like that murder was unnecessary. But at the same time, the job that they're doing is necessary, man. We can't just have people here just mooching off of the system and then bragging about the stuff, man. And it's not cool, So while I don't agree with the tactics being used, I do agree with the fact that these people can't just be here, man. It's not fair, and we don't know who's in here. We really don't know who's here. We don't know who's here, and that really goes for any I guess everyday people too. We don't know who our neighbors are. We don't know who the hell they are because we don't talk to our neighbors anymore. So, and that's just it. People turn their heads, they look the other way. People see kids in these situations and you see a child and you don't, you may see that child and you're saying to yourself, man, there's something going on with that baby. I don't know. I don't feel right about that. But then because but you don't say anything. You just see that and you let it go, and then you were probably right. That could be a bad situation going on for that baby. So we have to learn how to, kind of speak up, man, and discern situations and pay attention to what's going on around you. Pay attention to these babies when you send them out there, man. Look at their eyes, because you can see their soul through their little eyes, man. And we just have to take better care of these babies, man. It's crazy that we have to even do a show talking about this kind of stuff, man. But it's absolutely important, that we do talk about it. It's sad, man. It's sad, to know that, again, that these parents won't ever see their children or their child again. This is the United States of America, man. It's supposed to be the safest, best country in the world to live in, but not for children. It's not for children. So, everybody, keep a better eye on your babies, man. Just, watch out for them and keep a better eye on them and keep them close to you, man, because, for one thing, they're not babies for long. You blink and all of a sudden they're adults. But while they are babies, man, keep them close to you. Love them and cherish them, man, because, it's so many parents, going through that kind of despair, going through that kind of misery. And unfortunately, I believe that it's at the hands of people in very high places. I truly believe that. And my gut tells me that, my spirit, my conscience, um, it tells me that, So, I mean, it's just too many. It's just too many, and it's just too many, and nobody knows anything. Nobody ever knows anything. Nobody knows where these children are. No corpses. No nothing, man. It's disgusting, really. Um, it's sad that this is a representation of us as a people in this nation, and I'm one of them. I'm with you. I'm there. I'm in that people crowd too. But I'm trying to use my format and my my platform to say something about it. Um, and so that's why I wanted to do this show and talk about it and kind of read those stats out, um, and and it's sad that we have to say, this commentary says that it's blacks are reported, you know, at a disproportionate higher rate than their counterparts, based on our population here. Um, so, I mean, so to me, it just says to me again, law enforcement, um, uh, the government, the elite don't care about black people. They really don't care about any of us. But black people have been hated in this country for a long time, so that's nothing new. But we have to understand, man, that what climate and what time that we're living in. It's a very spiritual time. Um, uh, the forces of evil are busy. So those of us who are interested in being on the side of good in this war, we have to be busy too. Um, we have to, put on the armor that we need, the armor of right knowledge, um, and and we have to, be ready to fight this thing, man, because our children are at stake, our futures are at stake, our very lives are at stake. So, I don't know. Again, I don't know how we fix this. I don't know how we get out of this stuff, other than just each individual deciding that you want to divorce yourself from this stuff, man. Um, that's that's the biggest thing. We have to decide that we want to divorce ourselves from this crazy system, from this crazy system of government, where we get the short end of the stick. The government should not be getting rich off of its citizens, and that's just the way it goes. So anyway, man, I would just again just ask everybody to think about this, and if you know anything to do, anybody to contact, your congressman, your senator, your mayor, your city council, and just ask, what's going on. Why are we dealing with this kind of issue in this country? Children just disappearing off the face of the planet, and nobody knows where they are. Nobody seems to care about where they are. Um, you know, it's sad, because like I said, there has to be a lot of cooperation on every level. That's from parents all the way up to the president. So, um, these are trying times, man, that we're living in. Um, So, everybody has to get equipped, man, and be ready. Um, and pray for these children, man. Pray for these kids. Send up some positive energy for these children, and because this is just the thing. This is about the planet's energy and the planet's frequency, and we cannot rise to any kind of high frequency with our babies missing like this, and being subjected to whatever it is, whatever kind of horror they are being subjected to. Um, you know, I don't know how we can even sleep at night, with that kind of stuff. Being a real thing, and being a part of American culture, we can say, no, that's not our culture. We don't kidnap kids. We don't do that. But shit, 460,000 reported every year. So, that's a lot, guys. That's a lot. And as a people, we should kind of be embarrassed about that, man. We should be, um, just blown away and outraged, and we should want something to happen. We should, absolutely want something to happen, guys. So anyway, that's that, man. I'm gonna let you guys get out of here. I appreciate everybody who stopped by, watched the video, gave it a listen. Um, man, let's fight for the kids. Let's fight for our children. Um, let's write to whoever we need to write to. Let's, email whoever we need to email, and let's just get something going. Let's, and see if we can make a difference, because the powers that be apparently don't care, guys. Apparently they do not care. So, I love y'all, man. Thanks for joining me again. This is the Ken Patterson Show, man. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much. Thanks so much. Peace, family. Peace.